Listening to your presentation earlier at the beginning of this maiden edition of Benue Livestock Summit, and you brought to us the huge investment potential that exists here in Benue State and in Nigeria at large. I want to speak specifically to the Benue livestock space. How would you call the farmers, the livestock farmers in Benue State, call their attention to the livestock, the investment opportunities in Benue State? Looking at what has been in place so far, what they are doing, and what you would expect that they would look into or do better as it has to do with their businesses, and also for other potential investors that would want to come into the livestock space in Benue State.
All right, thank you, moderator, for the good question you've asked. I was glad when the organizers of the summit invited me to make a brief presentation on the investment potentials in the livestock sector in Benue State. And so I had a few minutes to just share some topical information with all of us. There are a couple of variables that can make for, productive or profitable investment in livestock, not just in Benue State, but anywhere for that matter. One of those variables is the market I like to talk about. What we have around here, in my estimation, is smallholder farmers, small-scale farmers holding small pens, keeping smaller numbers of animals, whether it's birds, ruminants, or even cattle. But what I painted yesterday was a big picture of the market as it were, globally, and then the gaps that exist in Nigeria, the supply deficits that exist in Nigeria. So the big puzzle here would be the connection between what a smallholder farmer is doing and their ability to meet up with the big potential that is available. That is the market potential that is available. So other than that, you're going to have farmers here do seasonal production. So you have a poultry farmer, they're going to be targeting to rear birds to supply for festive seasons like Easter and Christmas or Salah. It's the same thing with ruminants like sheep, goats, and all of that. But if you look at this as a business, you will know that that model and approach is not sustainable. And so you take the market from the top end and try to do a backward integration. So if we take the piggery market, for instance, and say in Benue alone, there is a deficit of 9,000 pigs in Benue. That leads to, on a monthly basis, we import 9,000 pigs, whether from Kafanchan in Kaduna Plateau or Nasarawa State, into Benue State to be able to supply the demand gap that exists in Benue. Now, if you look at that money that is going out of the state, you can take the capital flight and you'll be right. But we have small farmers here. I've interacted with people and they say, I'm a pig farmer, but I rear my pigs to table size and I don't see a buyer, or I don't know who to buy. Or then they're feeding on my feet beyond maturity stage and I begin to start losing money, right? And when the buyers come, they are pricing me down. So those nuances in the marketplace need to be restructured because the smallholder farmers are largely operating in the informal sector. For us to be able to get the smallholder farmers make profit from livestock, we need to reorganize the sector. So, clap if you want to clap, please. Thank you. We need to reorganize the sector, get the associations harmonized, and work together for a common good. So that there could be issues like price control, price stability, and sustainable supplies of inputs to ensure that the challenges that farmers will be facing in rearing livestock are actually mitigated upon, and they are given a lease of livelihood so that they can become profitable. Now, so one of the biggest goals for us in the state, in terms of market, would be for us to move away from the seasonality of livestock market to an all year round market opportunity. So that every day, 247, if you're a livestock farmer, you should be able to tap into a supply and to be able to do that. This is what my office is able and happy to do, to open up the market space for Benue farmers in the livestock sector. To ensure that if you're a bird farmer, let us create a value chain, right? That once your birds reach maturity stage, there should be an aggregator who is an investor that takes up your birds once they hit a particular table size and is verifiable. The birds are taken and they are prepared. There are people who are also in charge of storage, whether it is cold storage or it is drying or any of those. You know the technicalities around that more than myself. But the value chain it allows for continuous production to be happening. So you can have smallholder farmers spread across the 23 local governments, but they are all under an umbrella. So they are registered, right? We know them and we know where they are. We can find them, we can call them, we can reach them. They are also under a program. So we know when they started a particular cycle. And we know when that cycle can terminate, right? So we have a dashboard from a control and command center that says that if we need birds today, 10,000 birds today, we should be able to get that from Kwande local government and from Okoko local government alone. They'll give us 10,000 birds because we have a database. So one of the key things, again I said, was market. Now I'm talking about database, right? For database to happen, we need to create a trusted system. And that is not going to be government. That is going to be through the community of practice. That has to be through the association. Remember, one of the things that the government is doing is driving the formation of cooperatives, right? Beyond the associations, the smallholder farmers can cluster and form cooperatives. You can have 10 cooperatives clustering together under a one communal formation, whereby you can take an acreage of land, 1 hectare, 2 hectares of land, and then build your pens. You can have a collection of pens, but then divide them into yourselves, right? You can call that an in-grower and out-grower system. But then, that division and sharing of common facilities allow for you to defray costs, share costs among yourselves, and the burden is reduced, right? And we'll move forward with that. That's in a database somewhere. Someone is a supervisor of that. It's now easy for us to deploy veterinary services to those locations. It's easy for us to deploy animal health science services to those locations. To also be able to deploy inputs easily to those locations. And when there are issues and challenges, we can be able to pin down easily and deal with that. Am I talking to some of the challenges you're having there? That sort of aggregation of smallholder farmers will mean that you are working under a platform that gives you a safety net, that gives you a fallback mechanism, that also gives you access not only to inputs but also finance, right? Because now, because you're clustered under a cooperative, your business has been de-risked, such that our microfinance bank here can be able to give you a loan under that group. And then you walk into that system. Our job again will be to bring investors within the other more technical and difficult components of the value chain. I talked about aggregation, I talked about preparation of animals, I talked about storage, and I talked about access to the bigger markets, right? While the smallholder farmers may not have the capacity to meet the bigger markets, the aggregators have the wherewithal and the capacity to also access big finance and trickle it down to reach the smallholder farmers. That's on one hand. Number two, we are calling out on big investors to come in and invest heavily in livestock development. So you can have a ranch, right? This is going to be a corporate investment coming to set up a ranch, for instance, and run it. So if you are a small player, you can play feeder services into the ranch activity. But again, we will draw you from the database that has been created because we know you exist and we know these are the services you are providing. The big players can play at that level, but the small players also should have a level playing ground that they can play feeder roles into the big corporations. So this is the way I think we can approach this.
Thank you very much. Very insightful, and I believe we have gotten so much from the response to that question. I would like to pose a question now to the chairman of the Poultry Association of Nigeria. In Benue State here, poultry farmers have faced a myriad of challenges, and there have been a whole lot of concern around the poultry sector in Benue. If you go around, you discover that most of the big farms, so to say, in Benue are closed down. If they have not closed down, 70% of the pens are empty for the reasons that we all know. So, sir, I would like you to tell us in detail the origin of the Benue poultry farmers and what the Poultry Association of Nigeria is also doing to help its members in this regard. Also, we would like to know the state of the Poultry Association of Nigeria in Benue State and the plans the association have in the near future in bringing farmers together. Just as the executive secretary said, we will be depending largely on the Poultry Association of Nigeria to make these things, some of these things possible. So I would like you to respond and give us some insight as to what we should be expecting in the near future from the association.
Thank you so much, Doc. You have said it rightly. All these livestock sectors, the poultry suffers a lot. We have so many challenges. The challenge of high cost of feed, the challenge of disease control, the challenge of accessing funds to expand our farm, and then even staffing. Sometimes you get staff and then staff who are very good at stealing your eggs, stealing bags, and then making you suffer different ways. You have said it rightly. A lot of farms now in Benue State have closed up. And recently, in the last 3-4 years, you go to the market, a bag of feed at 7,000. You go the next day, they tell you 10,000. The next day, they will tell you 23,000, 24,000. Well, we look at it that we in Benue State we are not suffering such things because we have maize here, soybean is being produced here. We have Federal University of Agriculture here, whereby we hope that we have so much of these animal scientists that can produce feed for us in Benue State. But sometimes we look at it, we wonder where the problem is coming from. We have a very big feed mill at industrial layout here, but it's very unfortunate. If you go there now, you don't have one bag of feed. Again, in the area of disease control, whereby we we have a lot of veterinary doctors, very unfortunately selling drugs. So when you get there now, the vaccines and the drugs they have are always the best. They give you what they have. Even if it is not what will give you the result, that's what you have. We have a lot of feed mills selling in all kinds of things to us. This week you'll be producing 5 crates. The next week you feed your animals with the same kind of feed and then they're having 2 crates. Then you know that there is problem with the nutrients of the feeds. To us at farm, we've been doing our best. Just recently, we've gone out to get a total number of farmers in Benue State. We've been doing that campaign, calling our farmers to come and register so that we'll be in one voice. One of another major problem again is marketing of our produce. Sometimes our farmers are not properly educated on how to produce and then when to produce. They produce jointly. Maybe this month all farmers, almost 70% of farmers will go into production and then make the market will be so bulk that the people in light market price the way they want. And it's very unfortunate we don't have a processing factories here whereby birds are being produced and then sent to other states. At our level, we only sell the live birds. We don't even have the factory to produce our eggs into powder form so that our eggs can be of longer value. It is a challenge to us, and then to us, the farm leadership, we've been going on looking for investors in this area. We just we came in farm with a very loose foundation. We've been trying our best from the national level. We've been having so many supports, and then we are trying our best so that investors can come in and invest in this area, in the area of processing, feed mill, and then other sectors that can help the industry better. Thank you.
Just to continue with you, is it possible that Poultry Association of Nigeria can also come to a point where it becomes a cooperative that will begin to, buy some of these inputs in bulk for their members, such that as they buy directly from the factories, they are cutting down costs, and the members are getting it at the factory price. And also that if the association aggregates and becomes formidable enough, it will be able to also set up cold rooms that can also mop up beds and help their farmers to sell. These are some of the conversations that have been on, and we are hoping that you'll be able to drive that. So, can you tell us efforts that are being made in that regard to make that become a reality in the near future?
Thank you so much, Doc. Most especially on buying large quantity of feed. There was a farm I was managing, and each time we buy a truck of feed, you see that the difference of buying one, the difference is always much. So we have done that in the farm level. We've set up a cooperative, we've set up a committee that is looking into the formation of the cooperative, so that we'll be assessing funds to buy in large quantity and then sell to our members. For the processing, just recently we'll be encouraging our members. You can see that at Burukum there we have some of our members that have started, whereby members bring in their live birds and then process, store, and then instead of keeping them so that they will be consuming your feed and then increasing their cost of production. At 5 weeks, you process them, slaughter them, and then you can even keep them 3-4 weeks. And then they will not be eating your fish, at least the power cost will be reduced. So, but to be honest, we are calling for investors in this aspect to do more. If not, the one we have started is so small that cannot meet up with our farmers. We are just doing this thing in Makode, and they have our farmers in Boko and other governments. I think they are suffering this thing. So if investors can come in, it will be better on our side.
Thank you very much. I would like to speak to the representative of the Pig Farmers Association. The challenges of livestock production cut across almost all the categories of livestock. And when you talk about pig and disease control, particularly in piggery, there is a particular disease that is always a menace. Pig farmers don't want to hear that mentioned anywhere close to them. What has been the situation with pig farmers in Benue State in regards to the challenges and also speaking to the prospects in pig farming, and also what you would want, what the association will do to enhance ease of doing business for its members, and also for increasing pig production in Benue State. Like the executive secretary said, there is a huge deficit, and we are expecting that the Pig Farmers Association will be able to work together. Farmers will be able to work together to see how they can be able to scale up production and be able to meet up this demand. This will translate into economic empowerment for their members and even for the association. So, ma'am, can you help us to get some light into these issues that I've mentioned?
Thank you very much. Yes, as for the association, Pig Farmers Association of Nigeria, Benue State chapter, the association has tried bringing us together, the pig farmers all over the state. It interests you to know that because we are really trying to bring ourselves together to help ourselves, we have registered a company. Maybe we'll be talking to him by the right, by my left. We have registered a company with START, the pig farmers. We also have a cooperative, but we are going to expand. Like before we continue, I'll say all the pig farmers that were represented here, you better register. I forgot to say it during our time that we met together. Advising each and every one of us, if you are a pig farmer here, see me after this, so that I will show you how you can register and be a member, because together we can do better than single individual. So the Pig Farmers Association, as I said, we have registered a company. We also have cooperatives, because we can have different cooperatives under a big umbrella, so that we can access whether funds or whatever for ourselves together. We have done that. And then issue of the disease that no pig farmer wants to hear, African swine fever. We know that that disease does not have any vaccine. Although we have been talking about it at the national level, they assured us that VOM is working on it, that government has released money. But while we are waiting, we are educating our farmers about biosecurity measures. You know, some of the pig farmers think that their farms are zoo, where everybody can come in and go out. But we are educating them that there should be biosecurity protocol, so that you restrict entry into your farms. In fact, you don't allow butchers to enter your farm. Some of them, we have told them, if you have animals for sale, put them somewhere else, so that the butchers can have access for the buyers, not coming into your farm, because they can come with diseases and deposit, and so many. this biosecurity. So many of our farmers actually have cooperated that you don't just go into their farms and come out like that. So that's about, that's why the last time ASL hit in the state, it discovered that only those people that are allowing their pigs walk around that were affected. But I can say about 90% of our farmers were safe, their farms were safe due to biosecurity protocol. But the greatest challenge now that we are facing as pig farmers in the state that has made so many farmers to close shop and some downsize drastically. Now as I'm speaking, if you are looking for pigs, either for Kenkwasi or to go and start a farm is very difficult because of the challenge of feeding. You know, just like broiler, the pigs are monogastric, and you feed them with ingredients that both human beings. You can imagine we used to buy maize 6,000 naira with per bag in those days. Not too long ago, maize rose up to more than 100,000. The same thing with soybean, other ingredients. So, in fact, I came out with what I call concoction. To survive, for my pigs to survive. But I don't be mixing things to just make them to survive because of the cost of ingredients. So many farmers are out of business, but they really, many of them are here, they really want to come back on board. So we really need support as pig farmers. If we can just be pushed a little, the pig farmers, and we will come back seriously. And one of the things also that we have been looking for, this should be the third administration, is the issue of live pig market. Live pig market. You can imagine Benue State is #1 pig producing state in Nigeria. You can touch me anywhere. And the insemination center at Yande that was brought in 2012 was the first in West Africa, the first pig insemination center in West Africa. So you can see that we have gone far in that area. Almost the whole country, when they are looking for good pigs, they come to Benue. But the farm has almost died. That's the project there. You can't get any pigs from there again. So if government, because it's difficult for individuals to import, if government can just bring in new set of breeds, because now those ones, since 2012, it's a long time. We have bred them, inbreeding and setting, so to get good breeds, because the performance of these ones here are not good. So if government can hear our cry, just bring in some. The first one that was brought was just 80. Doesn't have to be plenty, but it will service. That insemination center was servicing the whole country. We used to send semen to Lagos every year. Source of revenue and also improving our animals for the pig farmers. So if these things are put in place, I think the pig farmers will smile. We smile and go back to business. The new breeds and then funding. If we can get some funding, whether in form of grant or whatever. Subsidy. Somebody was talking of subsidy that time. We were very happy. That man, he did tell us something. Subsidy. Actually, if they can subsidize, maybe buy ingredients in bulk, just as they do for fertilizer. We are talking of crop farming. They bring fertilizer, they bring chemicals, they subsidize. What of us now? They can subsidize ingredients for us. They can buy maize, buy soya beans, and then give us a subsidized prices. It will go a long way to help the pig farmers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. We don't have the ruminant people on this panel, but a lot has been said about ruminant already, and even in the breakout session. So I would like to bring forward the the animal health professionals now. The chairman of the Association of Private Veterinary Practitioners is here with us, and we know that for a thriving livestock sector, we cannot overemphasize the importance and relevance of the animal health professionals. Talking about the veterinarians and the animal health, animal scientists, animal productionists, the animal nutritionists, and also the animal breeding and genetics. Those are very important in seeing that the livestock sector thrives and is sustainable in its endeavor. But I would like to focus this time particularly on the ease of accessing veterinary services for our livestock farmers in Benue State. So, sir, can you tell us what have been the challenges of the veterinarians in the state, and how accessible has been veterinary services in Benue State for our livestock farmers? What is the private veterinary practitioner association doing to make access to veterinary services easier for our livestock farmers, to cut down the issue of disease, and also them getting good advices as to nutrition? And we know that sometimes when birds are sick, it's not necessarily that they have been infected by an infectious agent or a pathogen. It can be as a result of nutritional deficiencies as well, of which veterinarians can also lend a voice and advice. So all of these will come back to your table, sir. How will you bring to us the challenges of veterinarians, accessibility of veterinary services, and what your association is going to do to make more of these available for our livestock farmers?
All right, thank you very much for that wonderful question. So, private veterinary practitioners in Benue State for the past 2 years have been up and doing, and I must confess that first and foremost we have a veterinary school here in Makurdi, and we have a lot of veterinary doctors around. The issue is just awareness. Now, first and foremost, I would say veterinarians are completely different from para-veterinarians, and the two states is so blessed to have both veterinarians and para-veterinarians in the state. It is everywhere in the country that a vet and a para-vet will always struggle to be more relevant in a particular situation and all that. But ideally, they are supposed to work together as a team. That is the first problem we have. But for the past 2 years, from the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, we have been trying to see how they will bridge these gaps. I was privileged to partake in a baseline assessment where we were able to meet out with some of the para-veterinarians to see how to bring or bridge this issue between them and the veterinarians. Because at the end of the day, the poor farmer is the one that suffers it. By the time the para-veterinarian handles the case and is not able to handle it appropriately, presenting himself as a doctor, and when the case goes out of hand, they now bring it to the veterinarian, it becomes too late. And when, for instance, it is a ruminant, a pig or something, the farmer loses that animal, it will be the fault of the veterinarian. But if issues like this are being followed appropriately, where a vet or a para-vet sees the case, bring it to a vet, they handle it together, issues like this will be avoided. Secondly, on the issue of the presence of veterinarians in the state, for the past 2-3 years, there is an app that was built in the country, And that app was built here in Makurdi, Vet Konect. Vet Konect is a platform where if you have an Android phone, you have this app on your phone, and you need a veterinarian when you have a problem, you quickly log in and locate a veterinarian anywhere in the country. If it's in Makurdi, you see people, veterinarians that have been reached at them. These veterinarians are known even by the Veterinary Council of Nigeria. You see their VCN number and all that. And just a call away, you will see a vet who will come to your farm or come to attend to your animal that is sick. Thirdly, we have an association of private practitioners in the state. And for some time, we have been trying to create awareness about our presence. Last year, we were able to visit over 10 schools in Zone A, B, C, creating awareness on rabies among school children, where over 5,000 school children were met and trained on the dangers and management of dog bites in the state. All this were done to create an awareness about the presence of veterinarians in the state. This year, we were able to even vaccinate some dogs in Benue local government. Over 492 dogs were vaccinated free of charge with the support of the Bureau and One Health Development Initiative in the state. And this was championed by the private veterinarians. So we are present, we are much available, and if there is any issue, even here we came with a directory where we have locations and phone numbers of veterinary clinics, shop in the state, both in Makurdi, Boko, and other local government. If you so wish to access them, you always go to directly and call. Yesterday, part of the handbills were shared here, and at 80 some were shared. So with all this, we have been trying to see how to make or put our health of animals in check. I know when in a community, when animals are healthy, humans are also healthy. We are talking about, we have a lot of zoonotic diseases here that we deal with. If you don't vaccinate your dogs, if you don't vaccinate your cats, you will have issues of rabies. In your own house, your own dog can still give you rabies and you will die. Once you have clinical signs and all that, nothing can be done. And we have, rabies is very much endemic even here in Benue State, even here in Makurdi. In this year alone, we have about 3-4 cases of rabies in animals. Some farmers lose, there's a farm that lost his, that was in December. They lose about 3 to 4 pigs. A dog just came in, beat their pigs, and those pigs came down with rabies, and they died. You can see the economic losses we are facing from some of these zoonotic diseases. We have issues of Newcastle in the poultry, African swine fever in piggery. We have issue of FMD, CDPP, TB in ruminants, and all that. So the veterinarians are much available, and we are here to assist to the best of our knowledge. And also, some people will tell you the vets are very expensive. We are not expensive. We will try as much as possible to see to the health of your animal at the lowest possible price. Sometimes we even do it free, especially in cases of rabies and all that. And again, I'm also going to mention to you that in the next 1 or 2 months, the Association of Private Veterinary Medical Practitioners, Benue State chapter, will be moving around the state to vaccinate your dogs free of charge. Vaccines will be provided in veterinary clinics. You just present your dog, and your dogs will be vaccinated free of charge. So all these are coming, and we will make sure that the health of our animals are being in check and handled. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I would like to bring to our notice also that there is a veterinary teaching hospital in Benue State, in Makurdi. How many of us are aware of that? How many of us are aware? Very few of us. And I want us to know that there are experts in that teaching hospital, consultants, just as you have at BISU, Benue State Teaching Hospital for Humans. We have that, the same structure replicated in the veterinary teaching hospital. We have diagnostic facilities. The university have laboratories that can diagnose diseases on your farm. So, farmers should know that it is not right to continue with this trial and error thing that we do. Go to shops and just buy drugs and come and administer. Let's call vets that will take appropriate samples, submit to the veterinary teaching hospital, and get diagnosis, accurate diagnosis coming out from there, such that you will also receive precise treatment for your animals and you get better results. We have a poultry clinic, we have clinic for ruminants, we have clinics for small animals, dogs, cats, and all of that. We have clinics for even aquaculture. So please, let's be aware, let that orientation be created, and let's work together. So we give a few hands to the audience if they have one or two questions to pose to the panelists, so that we'll quickly wrap up on this panel session. Yes, can we give that person the mic to ask questions? Please, you go straight and ask your question straight, so that we will not.
I want to appreciate the panel so much for doing justice to the topics. I want to talk about birds, poultry. We're talking about the sector of poultry in Benue State. There is a gradual shift now. I don't know whether you are aware of it. People feel that because these are broilers, you inject them with drugs, and the drugs stay in them, and when people consume, they have problems. So there has been a shift from the consumption of broilers to the consumption of local bread. I don't know whether you are aware of it. Perhaps maybe that is what is being noticed. Because most of us who are retirees now, because of that awareness created in us, we always go to a local place. Maybe you can do something about it. Now, Madam talked about the insufficiency of fees for the fees. I think we have come here to also try and do partnership. Some of us are into crop production. Now, can we work together so that by the time I produce, you know the quantity of maize you want, and the variety of maize you want, and the soybean that you need. So why can't we work together? So that by the time I produce the quantity of maize or soybean coming from my farm, I hand it over to you. And so you can do my. Can we work?
Thank you very much. Any other question? I want to ask the panelists there, please. For the associations you represent, what are you doing in order to carry your members along sincerely? Because the feeders and fillers we get outside there are not representing the things you are saying there. For instance, livestock support or inputs and all that. If at all the government makes them, whether there are forums or registrations or lists, what we observe is that the actual farmers don't get this input. Thank you very much. How many questions did you want to take, sir? Because I still have one.
Yes, let's take the last hand,
Okay.
and then we'll allow the panelists to respond. And just one.
Yes, my name is Babedemin Temba. My question is going to the representative of the Piggery Farmers Association. I used to know that there were efforts on ground towards live market. She started it, there was no backup. She didn't throw more light on it. I don't know whether the market is still, the provisions and the effort they made are still in place to achieve the live market just like she started. I think she should add more on it so that we know. Thank you.
My question is going to Benipa or Benita, don't know. Benin. So we would like to know where that your office is, and you talked about data collection, collecting data from smallholder livestock farmers. So how do you intend doing that?
But by the time you eat these birds, by the time you eat this meat, there are residues that are deposited in your body because you've got them from eating these animals. And by the time you are sick and you go to the hospital and they give you drugs, maybe Cipro or something related to some of those antibiotics that have been abused, you will see that it will not work. And that's why sometimes they will go, maybe most people, it's common when you're having typhoid or something, they will do some tests, do resistance tests. You see that most people are resistant to most of the drugs. Maybe some few drugs like Levo and the rest that you see because they are not common for people to abuse, that they will prescribe for you, and you see that they are very expensive. Yesterday the ES said something about Bomo, and His Excellency said, Bomo Nyoho. Yes. Even the Bomo we are eating, how do they process this Bomo? Sometimes they use tires. They use tires to process this animal skin. And some of this, is it lead and stuff from these tires, get deposited in this Bomo. You just wash it and you eat it, and they get deposited in your body. They are very risky. Now, on the part of private veterinarians or veterinarians in the state, for the teaching hospital and the university, they have been doing their best in terms of AMR awareness campaigns, trying to encourage students. Recently, I had a talk with some students in the university where we were trying to, although I took on ethical aspect of antimicrobial resistance, data collections and all that. There have been awareness campaigns in schools and tertiary institutions to see how to curb these menace of resistance and drug abuse, mostly in farms. So now it is also part of one of our plans to work on this year as private veterinarians, maybe in collaboration with the Nigerian Veterinary Medical Association Benue State chapter. We will also see how we will go down to some of these associations like the Poultry Farmers Association, Piggery Farmers Association, to see how we create this awareness. The best thing to do, vaccinate your birds, and also practice a very good biosecurity in your farms. If you have a good biosecurity in your farm, you don't need to give your birds or pigs or animals antibiotics. It's not necessary. If you have a very good standard biosecurity in your farm, you don't need antibiotics. Right. And sometimes we use these drugs abusively. We don't even follow the withdrawal periods, and before you know it, we send them to the market and people start eating it. But however, we'll see how the awareness will go down to all this association. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Can we give the panelists a round of applause? We would close now. You agree with me that it has been an engaging and interesting discussion, and it has stimulated our minds to the fact that livestock farming is a business, and we will go out here with that mindset, and we believe that there will be a shift in the livestock sector in Benue State, and we'll begin to see definite change. So at this point, we will close this panel session. We rise to take photographs, and we hand over to the MC.
A round of applause to all the panelists as well as the moderator for leading that very interesting conversation. I learned so much from that conversation, and I wish you were as attentive as I was while they were having that conversation. Please, there are a couple of announcements before we take the second to the last item for today's event. The first is that there was somebody who plugged a phone in one of the booths outside. Meet a Vet Konect team member, any Vet Konect team member outside, for them to help you in getting your phone back. They didn't know who the owner is, so they just took the phone and they are with it. They are waiting for you to approach them and identify the phone. Secondly, if you made any arrangements for certificates yesterday, your certificate is ready. So as soon as we finish from here, make sure you approach the Vet Konect team and obtain your certificate, okay? If you made any arrangements for certificates yesterday, please approach any member of the Vet Konect team outside immediately after this event, so you will obtain your certificate. Lastly, for now, the raffle which you did earlier is still not yet concluded. So after this event, you can still go to Vet Konect's booth and participate in the raffle in order to win more interesting prizes.